Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
Brian, we've got a problem. We've got the Ag PhD fertilizer removal app, and it's getting used by thousands and thousands of farmers really across the world. That's cool. However, it can be a little misleading because on the fertilizer removal app, if you look up, say, 200 bushel corn, for example, it'll tell you how much the grain will remove from the soil and from your field, and it'll also tell you how many nutrients the stover will take up. And I've talked to a number of farmers that have said, well, hey, I'm looking at how much the stover takes up. Is that what's left in my crop residues? No, not even close. Please don't look at that and think, well, this is what's left in my crop residue. If I bale it up, that's how many nutrients leave my farm. However, there are still nutrients in that plant residue that's laying out in your field. And if you do choose to remove that from your field, we want to talk about that today.
All right, here's why we're bringing this up during our Farm Basics time. If you're a non-farmer, as you're driving past fields all across the country, you'll see residue that's laying out there. Or let me put it to something you can really relate to, your lawn. A lot of people will mow their lawns and they'll take that grass away. They'll take those grass clippings away. Well, when you take those grass clippings away, what goes along with that? Fertilizer. Ideally, what we want to do is leave the grass in the lawn, leave all those clippings in the lawn, and as they break down, they'll release fertilizer for the next crop of grass. It's the same kind of thing out in the fields. If a farmer leaves his residue out in the fields, as that breaks down, it releases fertility for the next crop.
Well, the thing is, many farmers look at this as, you know what, my livestock could eat that residue. And I could either graze out in the field or, hey, I can harvest, take the grain away, and maybe I'll bale up some of those stalks. And we see many farmers, especially those who have cattle, for example, baling up a portion of the stalks that are out in the field, feeding it to the cattle. Well, is that wrong? No, absolutely not. That's a great thing that you can do, is use that residue to be a portion of that cow's diet. The important thing, in my opinion, is to see the manure from the cattle go back on the field. So basically, you've run that plant material through the cow has processed the material, and you can put it back on your farm as highly available fertilizer for the next year's crop. Like Brian was saying, if we leave the residue in the field, it becomes fertilizer on its own, and that's fine. It just takes a while for it to happen. If it happens to run through an animal, well, that's a great way to go, because now it's available for the next year's crop.
All right, here's the big question that you may have. What's that residue worth out there? So let's say that I take it off as opposed to leave it on the field. What's it really worth? Well, it all depends on the crop and how many nutrients that crop has overall extracted from the soil. But all I can tell you is this. If I've just raised 200 bushel corn and I've got stalks out there, I figure the value of those stalks could be worth anywhere from $10 to $30 per acre in terms of fertility value. And it varies quite a bit because if you get rain on those stalks pretty quickly after harvest or even late in the growing season, you'll find that some of the potassium is already starting to flush out. Potassium is probably the #1 nutrient left in residue. But if you get a whole bunch of rain on it before that residue is baled up or taken off the field, well, that means that there's a lot less potassium in there and the value of the residue is worth a lot less money. So just something for you to be thinking about, a general idea. It obviously depends on the value of fertilizer today, how many stalks you have, how much residue you have overall, and how much fertilizer you remove from the soil. But all we're saying here is it's not worth lots of money, but you know what, $10 to $30 an acre, it's quite a bit. That really adds up over quite a few acres.
The best thing you can do is take a sample of the corn stalks or whatever plant residue you're thinking about baling up and taking off your field. Just take a sample, send it into a lab, have it analyzed for the amount of nutrients that's in there, and then you can see exactly what the value is on your farm before you make those decisions.
Well, one of the decisions every farmer has to make is how to control our weed of the week. We'll tell you how to do it on your farm coming up later in the show.